Greetings and welcome to my channel, the things I wish I knew last summer, or things I wish I knew a long time ago. The way I'm going to structure my videos is I'll have clips of videos I'll post to YouTube. These clips are going to be shorter versions of videos that I'm going to have on Patreon. They will be full versions, about 20 to 25 minutes long. Now, while my channel isn't directed at adolescents, I will post content with them in mind, specifically for young ladies trying to navigate through life, because that's the experience I have. I can't speak from every perspective, but I can speak from my own, and hopefully that'll help someone. So everyone will be able to access those clips on YouTube. I'm going to put the most beneficial information from my perspective in those shorter clips, and then have my additional thoughts on Patreon. So as you can see on the camera, I do have a picture illustration I drew based off of a still shot of P. Diddy in a hotel, the famous incident with Cassie. Thinking about the topic that I wanted to discuss, I think he's a good example of what I'm going to be discussing. And it's going to be about abuse and unveiling it and what is really at the root cause of abuse. Oftentimes we hear the word accountability stated. It's become kind of almost as popular as the word narcissism. So accountability will be the topic today. What do you need for accountability, though? Depending on which sector of YouTube you might be traveling through, there are many of them talking about how this person needs to be accountable, this group over here needs to be accountable. But if you look at all of them, you'll notice that they're all different people. They're all different entities, and nobody is really the same, except for one thing they all have in common. I want you to take a second and pause and think if you can think of what you might determine that cause to be. Okay, time's up. So I've spent some time thinking about this, and I've noticed one common thread among people who abuse, regardless of what ethnicity they are, what background, what gender, what their position is in life, how much power they have in life. There is a lack of consequence for their behavior. So for example, P. Diddy. Sean Diddy Combs had this incident in the hotel years before we actually found out about it. And he didn't apologize about it until there were social consequences, which leads me to another topic that is associated with this. And it's the topic of what I call external versus internal consequences. So your external consequences, those are going to be your second line of defense against wrongdoing. Your first line of defense are internal consequences. What's going to be at the root cause of your internal consequence? It'll be that voice in your head, that thing that tells you, oh, you shouldn't do this, or you shouldn't do that, or go this way or go that way. If you get to a point in life where you're no longer listening to that voice, or you haven't trained that voice to know the difference between right and wrong, you're not going to have that internal prodding, that internal consequence that tells you not to do something. For example, you all might know someone in your life who seems to do the right thing all the time. And when you ask that person, hey, what makes you do what you do? Why do you always do the right thing? And now they might give you a very overly simplistic answer and say, well, it's because it's the right thing to do. Well, that's not true. That's not entirely true. The reason that they always do the right thing is because they've trained their conscience to know what that right thing is. And if they go against their conscience bothers them. They'll try to lay down, maybe, They'll be doing some other kind of activity and their conscience will be prodding them, and they'll get this bad feeling on the inside, this aching, gnawing feeling until they do the thing that's right. So, in the instance of Sean Diddy Combs, there are things that he was obviously doing wrong, allegedly, because the court case is still ongoing. But if these things are true about him, that means that internal conscience of his either wasn't working or he didn't train it to do the right thing in the first place. So that's your first line of defense there. Once you don't have that first line of defense, that's when the second line of defense come in, those external consequences. So now, again, going back to his case, he is experiencing external consequences for his alleged behavior. Those external consequences include social scrutiny. They include loss of revenue because now he's, maybe had several deals on the table and nobody wants to be associated with him now.